What's up, guys? Moonrose from Beast Coast OPTCG here with Kyle Willis. Kyle Willis just took down our locals with what deck, Kyle?
We played Doflamingo today.
Ooh, spicy. Why did you take Doflamingo?
Well, originally I was going to play Odin Restand tonight, but I forgot to put the list together because I still had Kid built, and I'd been playtesting Doffy when I got here, so I decided to just play it for the event.
Oof. Yeah, let's go. Let's actually, you know what? Let's get right into this because this is nice.
All right.
That beautiful card right there. He just pulled that out of his winter pack.
We'll start off with a description of the leader. If you don't know what Doffy does, he is a Dawn 2 leader. When attacking, you can pay 1, and you reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a 7 Warlords that costs 4 or less, you can play it for free, rested. So it allows you to build these big boards that are kind of hard to deal with and just use that leverage to just get in there.
Board advantage. Let's go.
Getting into the 1-drops, we play 4 Perona and 4 Trafalgar Law Blocker. Perona is the best, one of the best cards in the deck. It's a 1-drop, lets you look at top 5, rearrange them how you want. That's basically how you guarantee your top decks so that when you swing with leader, you aren't just blind checking, even though blind checking isn't really as bad as it sounds. Then you have the 1-drop Law, basic 1-drop blocker. They're too good not to run, so you got to run them.
Yep. And remember, it is all top or all bottom.
Yep.
For the Perona.
Yes, sir. Moving on, we got the only 2-drop in the deck, Alvida. A lot of people don't like this card, mostly because you can't search it and it doesn't really do a whole lot. It is a 2K counter, though, which is big and does come up a lot. The other thing about it is that this is really good into the Law, and sometimes the Zoro matchup, it kind of depends. Green is also a good matchup. You can put 1 Dawn on her, and when she attacks, you can trash a card in your hand to bounce one of their cost 3 or less characters, so you can bounce a lot. You can bounce like Okiku's, anything. You could basically keep your opponent from playing things that would otherwise put a massive disadvantage on your board presence.
Yeah, that seems worth it, honestly. Plus it's a 2K. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
Moving on to the boy himself, we've got 4 copies of the 3-drop Doflamingo. He does the same thing as Perona. When you play him, you get to top 5, look at, and put back on top or bottom how you want. Then he has blocker as well. And he's also a bigger blocker at 4K, so he is a lot easier to just manage. Don't play him as often, though. Perona's usually better because I can play bigger things with it. Usually this is something I'll play on turn 3. Or 4 when I'm at like 6 or 7 Dawn. That way I can play it and do the ability. I don't usually play this early unless I didn't see Perona.
Wow. Yep. Also, FYI guys, this deck is full max rarity. Man got money.
Yes, sir. Max rarity it is. We'll do these cards together because they are part of the combo. We have 4 copies of the Bartholomew Kuma blocker, and then we have 2 copies of Pacifista. Most people will probably recognize this from my list that Orange Samurai posted. I have never changed this ratio. I feel like 2 is the perfect number of Pacifistas. On average, when I play Kuma, they won't swing at it because they think I have Pacifista in hand. And most of the time I still do, even at 2 copies, which is why I cut down on it. The reason I don't run the blocker one is because it doesn't have combo power, and most of the time I don't need that additional block. So I would rather have the extra 1K power and the combo power. This is a lot stronger of a card in my opinion, and it comes up way more often than the blocker ever did.
Okay. Yeah, that seems very good, honestly.
Moving on to the prettiest card in the deck, we have 4 copies of Boa Hancock. She is probably the most important warlord next to the Gekko Moria, mostly due to the fact that she actually draws you cards. She is a blocker, and then she has Dawn 1 on block when attacking. You draw 1 if you have 5 or less cards in hand. On average, if you're playing against somebody that knows how to come at Doflamingo really well, you will have a very low hand size. So you will need these boas in order to recuperate your hand size. Also, you know, how could I not run 4, right? It's just so nice.
She is, she be do looking fine.
Moving on. I'm back up to 4 copies of Gekko Moria. I have cut this down to 3 before, and every time I miss it. This card is so ridiculous. The fact that you can just play it off the top for 3, it's rested, it baits out opponents' attacks like a blocker would, and then it just recurs anything, which on average it usually recurs the 2K Mihawk or like a law blocker, but I mean, you can get anything off this. You can also get Perona because she is a Thriller Bark Pirate. It's just, this is probably the best card in the deck.
Yeah. That man be he be stressing me.
Moving on to another unpopular choice, we have 4 copies of the Marshall D Teach. At my locals and a lot of the online events I play in, I have a problem playing against Zoro and Law. They are everywhere. This card puts them so far behind, especially when I see 2 of it early. Like if I play Perona on turn 1 and I see 2 Teaches in the top 5, I'm not losing the game because they usually will not play around it. They'll play like a Nico Robin or a Zoro, and then I'll just keep bouncing it back to their hand. That's more Dawn they got to keep dedicating to fight my board presence, and they just can't keep up. He's also just another card that bounces cheap blockers. You know, it'll get rid of those 2-drop killers that are pretty annoying. It'll also get rid of the 1-drop blockers. So all around, this card is just insane. It also has combo power, which is huge. It's just a really good card all around.
I see. I like that.
Moving on to the card I mentioned we getting off Moria earlier. We have 4 copies of the Mihawk from the 2K from the starter deck. So you can the reason I play this at 4 is because he's also a legal target for the leader ability. So you can play this rested, and especially if you brick, which doesn't happen very often, but it does come up because you know, any deck will brick eventually. You can put 1 Dawn on him, and when he swings, you get to draw 2, pitch 2, so you can fix those bad hands.
Yeah.
He's also just a 5K attacker that you can play for free, so he doesn't always have to be a 2K.
And people will like try to absorb some aggressions into him, so he's...
Oh yeah, people don't let it live. They're traumatized from starter format.
Yeah, exactly.
Last 4-drop in the deck. We got 2 copies of Jinbe. Card's really good. My only issue with it is 2K power. This thing is the exact same power as Perona, which means I have to dedicate 3 Dawns so it can attack anything that isn't also weak. I wanted to run more than this, but it has 2 major issues. The first is it has no combo power, and it costs way too much to hardcast. It is also not a 7 Warlords, so it will brick your top deck up. I cannot run more than 2 of this. More than 2 of this is just way too cloggy and bricky, and I just never have enough time or Dawn to play more than 1 of this a turn. There has been 1 game, probably in the last 3 weeks, where I actually played both of these in the same turn, and it was against the Zoro player. But in any other matchup, I would probably never play more than once. When you hit it off life, it's insane, but in any other instance, it just costs way too much to cast, and you really only want to see it against Zoro and Law.
Yeah.
Moving into our top end now. We got 2 copies of the starter deck Doflamingo. Card's just absurd. You can bounce 7-drops with it. In the mirror, you can bounce their Doffies. Against green, you can bounce their 7-drop kids. Like, you can just do anything with this card. It's ridiculous. It's also a 7K, so it's big. I did run the 6-drop Law for a while, but it never came up, so I just ended up putting this back in.
And it's the boy.
But if I'm being real, this probably does feel like the weakest card in the deck, and it could be cut for other things, like maybe if you wanted to run the 7-drop Crocodile, which has been seeing a lot of play recently, or like maybe the 6-drop Law. You could cut this card. This is probably the most cuttable card in the deck.
That's very interesting. I like your thought process on that.
Oh, moving on to the last of the character cards.
Daddy.
We have the 3 Dracule Mihawks. Best top end in the game. I'm telling you. You play this card. We have a joke around here at locals that Daddy's home and he brought the belt, so... you know, school called and all that. But yeah, when you play this card, he will put a 7 drop or less to the bottom of the deck. This card can be very devastating if you play it right. It can also get you killed if you play it incorrectly. So it's one of those cards that you really got to wait on the right time to play. Me and my teammates have discussed running 4 of this. I don't know if I would do that personally, because that's way too much on the top end. But if I cut the Doflamingos out, I probably would run 4 of this.
Interesting. Yeah, it's just daddy, and daddy be doing daddy things.
Yep. And he's also 9K, so he's huge.
Yeah, he a big boy.
Moving on to the option cards. We got
Option,
4,
sir?
or
Option?
sorry, extra. Sorry, you former Digimon player here. You have to apologize. We got 4 of the Love Beam, the best blue option in the game in my opinion. Or sorry, blue event. This card is ridiculous. You pay 2, you give something 4K, and then you draw a card if you have 3 or less cards in hand. You can be at 4 cards in hand, play this, you're at 3, you draw a card. It's absurd. You can chain Love Beams into Love Beams and draw them so you can stack your deck to make sure that you don't die. Like, this card is so ridiculously strong, and I think running anything less than 4 is a mistake, because I've run less than 4 of this before, and I can't even count the number of games where having the 4th one would have mattered. Like, the card just is insane. And then the very last card in the deck, we got 2 Overheats. Zoro is a problem, and so is Law. Zoro obviously gets a lot better next set too. This card is another 4K boost like the Love Beam, but it does bounce a 3 cost or less that is not rested. When you hit it in security though, life, you bounce a 4 cost, and it doesn't care if it's suspended or not.
Yeah.
So it's just good removal. Also, this punishes Zoro very heavily when they get too far ahead of you. And that's a position you never want to be in, like if they have 2 Nico Robins. Because a lot of the time, if they see 2 open, they will play around the Overheat. But, you know, if they're too far ahead, they can't. And that's one of the only ways you'll come back.
Wow. So that is the deck for you guys.